you have a situation where the Prime Minister will have to run as the leader of the Liberal Party, and then immediately before the election happens, resigns, and then having the new leader of the Liberal Party stepping in to be a candidate, and then having to finish the election out.
The Liberal Party of Canada seems to have finally gotten its act together in order to select the new leader of the party as of March the 9th. This means that Justin Trudeau's resignation terms are now final, and the clock is ticking on his expiration date. They have also decided to adjust who is and who isn't allowed to vote for the new leader, so it more aligns with the Conservative and NDP's rules.
Let's take a look. So first off, as hoped by many of the Liberal MPs, and I think many Canadians as well, whether you're a Liberal or not, the Liberal Party of Canada has updated its voting rules. Now, in terms of the race, the contenders have to declare their candidacy by January 23rd. So if you're going to run as the leader of the Liberal Party, you have to declare that by the 23rd. There's a $350,000 entry fee in order to participate in that race.
That's huge. You think that's for inflation?
Maybe. Just inflation. Now, in terms of voting, so in order to be able to actually cast your vote on who you want to have as the new leader of the Liberal Party and Prime Minister of Canada, at least for a couple of weeks, to take part in the selection process, you must be registered as a Liberal member by January 27th, at least 14 years old, not be a member of any other federal political party in Canada, a Canadian citizen, permanent resident, or have status under the Indian Act. So this kind of dovetails off of the post that we put up yesterday, in that people were encouraging us to encouraging other people to interfere within the Liberal voting race. And what we mean by interference is not joining the party to cast your vote for the next candidate.
What we mean essentially is sabotage. If you want to pick the next prime minister, you're not a member of any current political party, and you do fall within those other parameters that have just been reset out by the Liberal Party. Absolutely, we're not going to discourage you from participating in our democratic processes. What we are against, though, is we were receiving a lot of emails encouraging us to encourage our viewers to essentially sabotage the leaders' race by signing up their dogs, by signing up people out of country, by making up people, by signing up and voting for the worst candidate. We feel that democracy needs to run its course, and we feel that by sabotaging or interfering in any democratic process in a way that is not in good faith, we don't think it's appropriate, so we won't encourage it.
And some people, have said, well, the Liberals are fighting in the mud, so we have to get down and fight there with them. And we don't share that opinion. If you are going to, want to play dirty, then you are essentially becoming what you're criticizing, and you've lost your ability to actually be angry about it in the first place.
Well, and as the famous saying goes, never wrestle with a pig, because not only will you get dirty, but the pig likes it.
Right. So anyhow, the rules are set, the board is laid out, and let's see what CTV had to say about this change in the rules and the leadership deadline.
And Jeremy Sharon joins us now from Ottawa with more on this, Jeremy. Some changes, interesting changes, and is this going to make it interesting as to who may run now because of that, especially that steep price there?
Yeah, Roger, definitely some interesting changes. The steep price point when it comes to fundraising, the fundraising threshold that has to be met, which, as you mentioned, goes up to $350,000, up from $75,000 the last time the Liberals ran a leadership race. The whole goal of this here is to try and dissuade not so serious people from running in this leadership race. It means if you're going to try and run here and have a shot at this, you have to be a serious candidate. $350,000 is no small amount of money, and the window to raise that money is very short. January 23rd is when potential candidates, have to have that fee, that money raised. So certainly the whole point is to make sure that only serious candidates are moving forward with this leadership race. We know so far 2 names, Chandra Arya and Frank Baylis, 2 Liberal MPs, have said that they are going to run. That was before any of these details were announced last night. And of course, there are many other names that have been floated, people that have talked about the fact that they are likely or interested in perhaps putting their names forward. Those are, of course, some of them there: Chrystia Freeland, Mark Carney, Mélanie Joly, François-Philippe Champagne, Anita Anand, Christy Clark. None of those leadership contenders have officially put their name forward yet, officially launched their leadership candidacy, but those are certainly names that people are watching, and those will be kind of those big guns, if you will, that will likely have no problem fundraising that $350,000, Roger, and be able to put that forward. The other important date, obviously, we talked about January 23rd being the date in which the candidates need to raise that money to move forward in the leadership race. And then March 9th, as you mentioned, will be the day that the Liberal Party selects a new leader. So that's the other important one to mark on the calendar.
And what kind of an impact does it have on who can vote for the next leader of the Liberal Party?
Yeah, that's right. So some significant changes in terms of voting. Up until now, the Liberal Party's constitution has not stopped international students and non-permanent residents from voting in leadership races. Changes are being made there. That's kind of an area excuse me, that was identified in the inquiry into foreign interference, where the Liberal Party had suffered from foreign interference in the past. And so changes are being made to the Liberal Party constitution to ensure that only Canadian citizens will be able to vote in this leadership race. So that is another significant change that the party is taking, and one that will ensure that we don't see perhaps attempts at foreign interference using people like non-permanent residents and international students like we've seen in the past in leadership races.
So I find that interesting because initially the Liberal Party Canada came out and said, we're not changing any of our rules.
But they got a lot of pushback. They got a lot of pushback from within the party. They got a lot of pushback from Canadians across the country. And I mean, if they pay attention to Twitter or other forms of social media, they probably saw that people were actively encouraging other people to join the Liberal Party and sabotage their vote.
So that's why we find this interesting, because with everything that happened at the public inquiry, with what we learned about Han Dong, with what we learned about these international students that may have had a large impact on the election of Han Dong as the candidate in his riding, the Liberal Party wasn't going to change anything until all this blowback actually happened online. So, let's just, I guess, take the win that they did the right thing to prevent foreign actors, bad actors from interfering in the leadership race. Now, you then look at who the candidates are. So you have Chrystia Freeland, Mark Carney. Now, Mélanie Joly has since this morning stated that she will not be running for the leadership of the Liberal Party.
Oh, that's interesting. After she put out that full-page spread, and was it the New York Times saying that she's going to be the successor?
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
But these guys haven't even declared their candidacy yet. Are they waiting until the last minute to have like some big, huge surprise? I don't know. I doubt they're waiting to raise the money because, I mean, Carney's like, what, a bazillionaire, is he not?
I don't know. But the thing is you have to raise that money by January 23rd in order to actually register. So that's most likely what's going to be happening here. And but they're going to want to declare fairly soon, because that allows you to kind of start campaigning to actually run.
I wonder though if they're waiting till the last minute for like some sort of advantage over the other possible contenders, as well as kind of like that shock surprise for the people who will be doing the voting that, oh my gosh, Chrystia Freeland hasn't put her candidacy in and it's January 22nd and then she drops it on the 23rd. You know what I mean? Like it kind of builds that excitement.
Fashionably late, I guess.
Yeah,
as it were.
I suppose. Well, or not really late, but at the last minute for sure. Now, I will say that although the Liberals have changed the rules as to who can vote in their leadership race, I don't think it goes far enough. And this goes for the other parties as well, because the Liberals seem to have moved their regulations in line with the NDP and the Conservatives, but I don't think it goes far enough. I don't think that anyone under 18 should be permitted to vote. And I also don't think anyone who is not a Canadian citizen should be permitted to vote. I understand that many people who are permanent residents are on their way to achieving citizenship in Canada, but really, you can't vote in an election unless you're a citizen and above the age of 18. So why should these individuals be permitted to vote in a leadership race?
And I completely agree with that, because if you're voting for someone who is going to be a party leader, you are therefore voting for somebody who intends to run in the federal election and who's running for a seat.
Well, and is this meant to be kind of a get your toes wet, learn how voting works type thing, especially for the kids who are between 14 and 18? I don't know. I think there's other ways for teenagers to learn about our democracy that doesn't necessarily give them the power to choose the next prime minister of the country.
Well, and if I remember back when I was 14, I was not competent enough to be able to say, who's the best prime minister for Canada. That just doesn't make sense.
Well,
so,
and it prevents exploitation. I mean, if you have two parents who are very in tune with politics, very into the party, what's to stop them from cajoling their 14-year-old into getting a membership and voting? I think those are the kinds of things that a party should want to avoid, which is why I don't think that they should be permitting children between 14 and 18 to vote in leadership races.
Anyway, folks, this completes the terms of Justin Trudeau's resignation. So his time is up as of March 9th. Prorogation rescinded or not, that's what's going to happen. And here's the funny thing, folks. Let's just play out this thought experiment. Let's say that we win the lottery and prorogation is actually rescinded as a result of this court challenge. There's no indication as to whether that is going to be successful or not, even in time or not, but let's just have some fun. So prorogation's rescinded, government falls on the 28th, 29th of January after they come back, and then an election is declared sometime in March. So you have a situation where the prime minister will have to run as the leader of the Liberal Party, and then immediately before the election happens, resigns, and then having the new leader of the Liberal Party stepping in to be a candidate and then having to finish the election out.
Well, he's not even really the leader anymore. He's the interim leader right now.
Right.
So I don't know if we've ever gone to an election in Canada's history with an interim leader as the leader of one of the major parties, let alone the party that's currently governing.
It would tie a bow on the gong show that is the Liberal Party over the last 9 or 10 years. But either way, whatever candidate we get, I'm not optimistic for the Liberals' chances. I think Canadians, on the whole, we're done with the policies of the Liberals, despite the fact that all the MPs are trying to tell everybody, oh, no, it's not the policies, it's Justin Trudeau. He's the bad guy, but he did great as a prime minister, because otherwise we'd have to say all his policies are bad. So it's getting crazy with the political spin. Canadians aren't buying it, but as we said, the clock is ticking.